Hello, the internet. Welcome to Open Source Directions, hosted by OpenTeams, the first business-to-business marketplace for open source services. Open Source Directions is the webinar that brings you all the news about the future of your favorite open source projects. My name is Melissa. I'm a mathematician and software engineer based in Brazil, working with open source software and communities at Quantsite, and I'll be your host for Open Source Directions. Co-hosting with me today is...
Hi, I'm Madika, and I'm excited to be the co-host for this episode of Open Source Directions. I'm a postdoc at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I work on an open source project called the YT Project, and I'm based in Urbana, Illinois.
Cheuk, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I am with you all today. I'm Cheuk, and I am a developer advocate at TerminusDB, which is an exciting startup that we would talk a little bit about later. And I'm based in London right now, so yeah.
So now we have our favorite tweet from the past week section, where each of us will mention a tweet that we found interesting. And I would like to start with Cheuk. Can you mention yours?
Right. So I have mine. Do I have to show it, or? So yeah, it's a... Well, it's just like something that is so random that I came across. Is a what's that called? Like party pirate? It's like a dancing pirate. Like, I think there was a period of the time people just like think of me when they see this emoji because I use it so much. I rave about everything, So I really like it. And they have a whole page of the dancing pirates that, you can have different versions of them. You can have, you can have the different, they spin in different directions. You can have a Congo line of them. It's crazy. And I love it. And also there's a little backstory of what this emoji came from. And I don't want to like track on for too long, but you can look it up. It's funny.
I feel like you need a custom version with your face on it, because like you really emanate party parrot vibes, I think.
Yeah, maybe they start making some cats and things like dogs, but I think that the parrot is the best. I don't know. I just like how it's
because of
been.
its
It's
neck,
so happy. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, my tweet from this week is sort of visualization related. This is from, it came up on the Matplotlib Twitter this week, and there's somebody creating a visualization book, Nicholas Rougier. I'm not exactly sure. I'm probably butchering your name. Sorry, Nicholas. And so he's creating this visualization with Matplotlib book, and somebody tweeted a couple of pictures of visualizations that he's created, and I think they're really amazing and beautiful. And yeah, it kind of surprises you a little bit about like all the different ways you can use Matplotlib outside of the ways you've been using it. So I really like this tweet.
So I'm going to cheat a little. It's a tweet of the week, but at the same time is a news item because it's about the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, which was awarded to 2 women this year. And I was really happy to see that. And so the tweet that I chose is some resources for teachers who are trying to explain to their students what this prize is about. So I felt like it was really interesting and wanted to share. So
yeah,
that's my tweet of the week.
Yeah, it was a big news even in the Hong Kong headlines because some part of the research are funded by a well-known businessman in Hong Kong. So yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
It was a big celebration, kind of like, yeah, congratulations to them.
Yeah, that was really great. So today we are talking about TerminusDB. TerminusDB is an open source, full-featured, in-memory graph database management system that stores data like Git. It is built for data people and allows fierce data integration, versioning out of the box, and unparalleled query. It has about 800 stars on GitHub, and we are here with Cheuk to talk about it.
So Cheuk, can you tell us a little bit, before we kind of dive into a little bit more about what TerminusDB is, can you tell us what a graph database is?
Well, the main difference because people usually compare graph database to what we known and used so long time already, which is a relational database, which basically is like Excel, but you store things. Of course, it's bigger than Excel. If you store things in Excel, it would be like the track and trace in UK that it doesn't work. But yeah, so like you store things like in a tabular format, you link them by a key, which like I was a data scientist. I'm very familiar with it. I make a lot of tables, join them together, aggregate them, and join them together, and all this stuff. So everything's about joining, about bringing the keys together to get the information that you want. So, but that is not a very ideal step because, well, if you're linking things together, because our world is everything is linked together, right? How things are related to each other, each thing has some property, but the main thing is that even these property are something that link to this object, right? So everything is linked. So a graph database is a better representation, in my opinion, of this kind of relations and how things are linked to each other, how things are related to each other. So I think that's the main difference of a graph database and what something is more traditional, like a relational database, and why graph database is getting more and more popular nowadays.
So I guess next question is, who started it? Why was it started? And what need does it fill? I feel like you explained a bit about this in the previous answer, but how was it started?
Yeah, so it started, there is a story, like all amazing startups, they start with a problem, right? So our founder, they was working in the Dublin University, and there is a project that they work with some like historians and researchers that they want to put a lot of a big, massive database about human history into one. Okay, so but the thing is, like, because it's a massive project and it's like they're involved in a lot of like open data, which kind of there's different formats, right? And it's massive. It's just you have to link them all together. So you can see that if you just put tables together and join them, is not the best way. So so our CTO, he tried to find the solution, and it's like, okay, there's nothing in the market that can solve our problem. We need something that is, flexible enough that we could do this. So they start building this database, which is not an easy job. Like if there's anything that they could use, I bet that they would use it and just call it a day, but they can't. So we built this in the mind that we want it to be versatile, that could solve a lot of problems that right now the other products in the market can't solve. And then during the process, they discovered that, oh, actually, what would be better if we, because of the nature of storing things in graph, is actually we can build it in a way that is kind of like a Git tree that you could have revision control, which actually encourage a lot of collaboration in the data, which in the end, it kind of add a lot of values to the project. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So you also hinted to us that you have a project mascot. So can you tell us a little bit about the mascot and the history of it and where it comes from?
Yes. So it's a cow duck. I don't know whether I can find a picture. Maybe I will find a picture and share the link in a second. But it's a mixture of a cow and a duck. Oh, someone already posted. Great. Yeah. So it's a hybrid of a cow and a duck. So we just call it cow duck. we are not, programmers are not very good at naming things, right? So we just call it cow duck. And the story behind is that because we have a lot of animal lovers in the team, like we have lots of cat owners, and we all love animal. And we have a developer, and he's one of our key guy. Like without him, all storage, like TerminusDB storage won't happen. But he was explaining in one day in a talk, was like giving an example of how things work. And then so the example that he used is about a love story between a cow and a duck.
Oh.
So we kind of expand the imagination and like, oh, what if they have a love child? Then it's like, then we created this cow duck. It just represents how much we love animal. Like this kind of like some character of the team in it, and also this colleague of mine, the kind of the brain father of cow duck. Like he is also a vegan animal lover, and so yeah. So I think it represents us quite well. It's quite unique.
You need to make like a party parrot cow duck then, it sounds like. Like for, your teams, so it can be like...
Yeah, maybe like cow duck is dancing or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. That adds a lot of character to the project. I think it's really fun. And can you tell us more about alternative projects out there that solve the same problem? Are there any?
Yeah, so a lot of questions that we got actually is because they will be asking, oh, how does it compare with Neo4j? So because if you talk about graph database, people with the most well-known in the open source world is Neo4j. They have been here for more than 10 years. Like it is a long history with them. And I have tried to use it a little bit. I'm not an expert with it. I haven't used it extensively in my previous job, but I have a little bit experience with it. I kind of try, Cypher a little bit, their query language, and it's not bad. It's not a bad tool, but the thing is that because it has a long history, and when it got created, they don't have what we have in mind at the time, and then they're just like, oh, we need something more flexible than a relational database. So they have all these objects, and then all these objects are related to each other, but at the same time it's quite rigid the way that it's described thing, because these objects, they have properties. It's not like with TerminusDB, we are using a RDF format, so we use the OWL web ontology language as a base of building the schema. So even a property of an object is actually not a attribute of the object. It's actually everything is in triple. So it's just so the only thing that matters is the relation. So is that this object got this relation of this property. So for example, you can have a name of an object, but it's actually is like, okay, this object with an ID, of course. The label would be Cheuk, let's say. So that's me, okay. So yeah, so everything, even the property, is actually a relationship, and it's get a lot of flexibility that you could create a schema that you could describe your thing, because sometimes these object property and relation, this model may not work if, for example, if you have more complex thing, like you have a subclass, or like, you can see a lot of example like this in the history database. There's such a database which started this project, started this database, and you can see that inside there's a lot of complexity in the data. There's also time period, all this stuff that is not easy to represent if you have a less flexible schema and model. So yeah, and also we can do revision control. Yeah.
Okay, well, so thank you for telling us also about the schema. I didn't even realize this, so this is cool. Can you tell us a little bit about what technology it's built on? And also, I'd like to remind people who are watching to ask questions in the chat, and we'll get to them in the Q&A section. So please add them, and we'll ask Cheuk, and I'm sure she'll give us all sorts of great party parrot answers.
Yeah, so about the technology, so actually the fun fact about us is that the database itself is written in Prolog, which is quite surprising. Every time I describe to people, they'll be like, oh really? Like, people kind of think the traditional image of Prolog will be like, oh, that's something that I've done in university if you're studying computer science, and then at a certain period, I know that like there's some generation thing there, but like, but yeah, oh, I've done it in university, but I've never used it in real life. And how come? Well, actually, I think people overlook the possibility of Prolog, because it's a very, I would say, there's quite a strange programming language, because the common people like kind of understand about programming languages is a kind of a stream of instructions for the computer to carry out, but Prolog is more like logical reasoning. So so in that sense, building a database with it is actually make a lot of sense, because every time you make a query, you're actually asking the database like, okay, I have this set of logic, I want the data that fulfill all this, can you give me those data? So so that's how actually, well, that's why we have like done it in Prolog. Our CTO has tried different languages before, but at the end of the day, he realized that why I'm writing Prolog with Java, and like, so yeah, so that's why it's just like, okay, we just do Prolog, and of course, the store is in Rust, because well, if you want kind of fast and kind of low level kind of manipulation of your storage data in your in your memory, then you want something low level like Rust, which is also like a new thing compared to C. But it works very well actually. And there, of course, there are some advantages, but I'm not a backend developer. I can't tell you in detail, but that's what I know about. And we have a very good team that could develop in Rust. So right now the front end is built, of course, we have a console which kind of built with JavaScript because it works in your browser, and also because I joined the team and I really love Python, so we have a Python client that would work very well with if you're a data scientist, if you want to work with Python, here you go, that's your tool. I think that our query language also, it kind of is very similar to Prolog. If you have tried our query language, which is called Waco, we love names, okay? So I think it's a web ontology query language, so that's why it's WOQL Waco, and it's kind of it will remind you of Prolog, trust me. Yeah.
I find it awesome that we can still piece these things together, even like Prolog and Rust, and it's like extremes of age and generations. Like Tony's saying in the chat, like generations of computing, and then you can put them together to work. I think that's amazing. Can you tell us a bit about who maintains the project?
Yeah, so actually I would say that the whole team maintaining the project. Of course, we have developers, we have front-end developers maintaining the front-end bit, which is the console and also the client. We have back-end developers who's basically maintaining all it's kind of the source of life of the database. We have also op teams that kind of make sure the delivery is working, and also developing the Electron app. We just like push out our Electron app so people can just use it like more OS friendly. We don't have to use Docker all the time, which is great. Also, even if our admin colleagues, they also help with documentation. I try to teach them Git, and then actually I like our administrative person, like she actually changed all the typos for us, and then by going to GitHub and knowing how to use it, and it's amazing. I think the whole team is maintaining the whole project, so everybody can do their bit, and that's why I love it. I love that like in a startup environment, you got a lot of chance to go out of your comfort zone and try things that you won't normally do. Like, for example, I also sometimes try to do stuff that I won't normally do as well, which I think that's great. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in the project personally? Like, it's you're interacting with a lot of people. Like, what is your story with getting involved?
Yeah, so it started last year actually, when my previous job actually is a data scientist role in a bank. So I was really frustrated by the way that in a big corporate environment, and also I feel that it kind of contradict with what I love doing all the time, which I go to conference, I contribute to the community, I want to share the knowledge, I want to bring people into open source because I personally love it, and I found it fun and enjoyable to work with open source projects. So I was looking into different things because I know friends from conferences that they have this role that I've never heard before, that they're developer avocado. So it's like, what do you do? Like, I just see you all the time in the conference. So do you have to work? And they say like, yeah, it's actually like part of my work is to promote our products in conferences. It's like, oh, okay, sounds cool. So and then I get to know more and more, and then I started to make a career change that I want to become a developer avocado. So and then I came across TerminusDB. At the beginning it was like, oh, should I apply for it, because it the head office is in Dublin. Of course now we go fully remote because of COVID, but that's great. But yeah, before I was like, okay, they are an Irish company, like it would work. And then they was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like we actually, can accommodate to remote working and the stuff. And so yeah, we have some interviews, and like I actually like the whole process. I enjoy talking with the team, and then at the last stage they'll be like, oh yeah, like actually we want to meet you. And then because they said that they will come to London quite often, and yeah, which is great. But at that time, I was very lucky because I'm going to PyCon Ireland to give a talk. So I was like, okay, maybe I can sneak down from the conference and meet you. And then, but like most of the team was actually in the US at the time, but our CTO was still in Dublin. So I met him and have a chat. We both enjoyed it. We both think that we will work well together. So yeah.
That's awesome. I really like how, like the whole trajectory. I think it's really awesome. So what communities are users and contributors to TerminusDB from?
Yeah, I would say that we got a very broad range of users. Yeah, because the thing is like, because we try to be very versatile, but the thing is sometimes we have to take stages of like taking people on board. So I think we range from people who I think right now there's like people who basically maybe they have a application, they want to integrate, TerminusDB into the application. So that's one group of people. And then there's also another group of people like what I do previously, like data people that we need to have a solution to our data science project or data do some data analyzation with a better solution. And also I think now we're trying to expand it so we could adopt people that maybe they're not from technical background, not like the previous two groups. They may be not like comfortable in coding. So we're trying to build a GUI interface so they can make query by drag and drop rather than writing code. So yeah, we try to incorporate into maybe data managers into the user group as well. For contributors, we have contributors from all spectrum. Like we have a lot of Python contributors, thankfully, and because I organize some sprints with different conferences, and the Python community is just lovely. So we have lots of contributors, but also we have contributors from universities that they may be, for example, Prolog is quite a popular one because people rarely find project that they could work in Prolog. Also, we do have some kind of Rust expert helping as well. So like for Prolog, we also have a good communication work. So yeah, so we basically because we are open source, we are very integrated with different users and different communities, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And it's really nice to hear about all of these different sort of communities that you're interacting with. It's really cool. So can you tell us a little bit about if the project is involved in any diversity and inclusion efforts and what those are?
Yeah, so for the team itself, we actually have a very good proportion gender-wise. I think now is a little bit, more like, because before we have almost 50-50, but I think one female developer left us like early this year. So, but we still have a lot of female developers in the team, which is quite surprising because usually in my previous work life, that I may be the only one or the second lady in the team, but we have three, and also we try to be like inclusive. We have a code of conduct that makes sure that when people commented, in various platforms, they are respectful. Yeah, I think we are very open-minded and very supportive in inclusion. And myself, because of my role and also because what I learned from the community, I really want to help, minorities in the tech community to get more involved, because I think the other reason why we are underrepresented because we don't show our face enough, that new people won't be inspired. Young girls or young female won't be inspired. They would think that, oh, it's a man's world, because, well, there are female developers out there. It's just like we are not, as active as the male developers, because maybe some people, their personal life may not allow that. But because now we're online, why not we just involve more? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear. And representation is definitely part of the solution. I believe that too. So now we're going to shift into the project demo, and where we get to see some of the cool features of TerminusDB and how it works. And Cheuk, you can get set up. And while you do that, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Quantside, for sponsoring this episode of Open Source Directions. Quantside, creating value from data. So whenever you're ready, you can take the stage.
Yeah, so I would like to show you a little bit about this our console. Actually, like I said before, there's an Electron app version for Windows and for Linux, not for Mac OS yet. That's what I'm using. So I'm using the Docker container, and I'm used to it. So that's fine. You can still use it with Docker. So yeah, first thing I want to show is that you can log in. I've already done it. I don't want to log out and log back in again, so I will skip that step. But yeah, you can sign up for an account on Hub. It's free. Of course, if you are a company, if you want more, more functionalities, you can talk to us. You can have a paid tier. But for most people, if you're an individual user, free tier is good enough. It's just like your GitHub, free tier is usually good enough. So yeah, just sign up. Like, why not? And then after that, you can actually clone some open database that we have created before. You can also share yours if you have some open data that is in the Creative Commons, like the DBpedia, which is, of course, Wikipedia information, which is Creative Commons. So we work with them, and then we have uploaded the data. You can get it, but it's quite big. So make sure if you're using Docker, you increase your memory size. That's the problem that I had before. But what I'm going to show you is a very small demo, which is this bank balance example. So I'm going to clone it. It's published by our CTO, Gavin. So I've deleted my copy, so I've now just cloned it. So, fail to clone. Is it true? It may not be true because maybe I haven't deleted before. So I don't know what happened. Yeah, I think it's like a curse that like when you do live demo, something is just like suddenly doesn't want to work with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a curse.
So yeah, make sure my server is running. It was working just like before. I don't know what happened, but yeah. Okay, maybe this is right because I'm running HTTPS. So sometimes it's just like say that, oh, it's not safe. You can't do that. It's like, oh no. Yeah. So I'm doing this again. I hope that worked this time. 3 times the charm. But anyway, maybe I'll show you a little bit of this Jupyter Notebook script. So this is actually how you can use the Python clients. So you just need to set up, of course you have to download the Python client. You can do it by pip install. You can use it in your Jupyter Notebook. I think this is quite a popular choice among data scientists. You can just, set up the URL. So this is my URL. Like I said, I'm using HTTPS, but yeah, that may cause some trouble. But you can use HTTP if you're not connecting to Hub, but because I am, so that's why I'm using HTTPS. So yeah, you have to have the database name, which you will see it in a bit, hopefully. So let's try it again. And then, yeah. If you're using Electron app, you won't have problems. Yeah, now you can clone it. Yeah, I think it's the HTTPS that caused some problem. But here you go. So now you have this in your local database. And then you can see that Gavin was working on it, adding some, profile in it. So these people, fake people actually, do have a bank account with us. Okay, so you can see actually there are 3 users, 3 bank account holders, and Jim, Mike, and Jane, okay? And then they have bank accounts, and you can see for the schema here that we will have, bank account, each account, they have different properties. So this is kind of like an overview that you can see in the console, that you see what you have in your database. I think it's quite useful when you export the schema of it because you understand how to make a query. So you can see that the bank account here, actually you would have a property that's named balance. So what I'm going to do now is to see how much money so yeah, of course this they're fake person, so I'm not like violating any privacy law. Yeah, I'm just like looking at how much Jim has. So I would have a look at Jim's account.
Yeah, I definitely want to know how much money Jim has. Like, tell me, Jim.
Yeah.
Tell me your secrets.
Yeah. So okay, I gotta explain this a little bit. Okay, it's difficult to type and talk at the same time. So okay, so I'm asking for a triple. That basically the first 2 would be, because it's doc, so it need to be Jim. We saw that earlier, that Jim has an account, and the property is balance. And this thing actually is a variable, so it starts with a v : so it's a variable. So okay, name, because I don't know this value, right? I don't know how much money Jim has. So I say, okay, name this value, give me the answer of this. So when you run it, you'll see that value is H. So Jim has 8, I don't know, let's say $8. Okay. So right now, okay, Jim has $8. poor guy, let's give him more money. Okay, so what I gotta do is that I would use
I love
a
that.
method add, and then what I gotta do is that this will give me value 8, right? So I want the same triple, but this time delete it for me. Well, of course, when you delete something, you have to add it back, right? So I want to add the same triple, except the value this time, let's say $999. Become a rich man. Okay, so
Can you
also,
do this to my bank account? This would be great. Thanks.
yeah, I wish I could do that to mine as well. So what I'm going to do here is that I could do a the reason for update, because, well, my manager may check that what have I done. So I would say that make Jim rich. Why not? Okay, so run the query. Okay. Oh, add is not defined. Why? Okay. Sorry, it's n. Sorry, yeah, it's n because I'm running these three things together. So I use an n. Sorry, my bad. Okay, now it's changed. So, well, of course, this is what I've done previously, so it's not doesn't count. So let's do this query again. So I'm asking Jim how much money again. Okay, run it. So now Jim has $999. Yay! Happy Jim. Okay, so when you look at it now, actually, you can see the commit message that I've seen. So my manager can check that what happened to Jim, right? Okay, because Cheuk make him rich. Okay, all right. So now we can actually all this stuff actually you can do the same with the Python client, but I gotta do something different to show that you can use the client. So remember all this stuff, both of them will work using it on the console, using it on the client. It's just the syntax may be slightly different, but basically they both can carry out the same operation. So what I'm going to do here now is that, of course, I create a client in Python and then connect it to the database. So, okay, I've run it before, that's why it's 4, but don't worry about that. So now I've connected, okay? And now I want to create a London branch. So, because I live in London, so I would create a London branch. And here, so if you now check that, you have to refresh it. And yeah, just take a while, and then you'll see that now here, the branch here, you can change it to London branch. So there's actually 2 branch now. But now there's nothing to see here because, well, it's just the same. I just create a new branch. It should be the same as the main branch. So what I'm going to do now is that I would tell the client to check out the London branch. And then I would create an account for Cheuk. So I'll add Cheuk here, okay? So I will run this. And now if I go to here, refresh again, just to be sure that is new data here, that you will see that in this main branch, nothing changed. But if I switch to the London branch, you'll see that now Cheuk has been added. So if you see the account here, you'll see, hey, now we have Cheuk. So I forgot how much money I give myself. Actually, let me see. Yeah, I give myself $234. Actually, I can make a query as well to see how much money I have, if I could. Yeah, so this time is Cheuk. See if I have $234. Yeah, I have $234. But I only exist in the London branch. I'm not in the main branch. So if I go to, let's say, go to US, I can't get my money. So what should I do? Okay, so you can do something like here. If you go to branch, again, you can do this in the Jupyter Notebook or with some with the clients, but it's just different. Some people prefer GUI, so that you can do it here. So yeah, you can see the in the main branch, the last thing is make Jim rich, but it's not updated. So I want now to merge the London branch into the main branch. And this time I'll be like update details. Okay, let's say update details. So now I can add this a check back to the main branch. So now if you go to the main branch, you will see that, yeah, I've added myself, and Cheuk is now in the main branch. And this is how you can do it. And I hope this is a fun little demo that you enjoy.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Great. Yeah.
I don't know why you didn't give yourself more money, though.
I could, but I could add I don't know what's the largest integer we can have. Maybe there's a limit. I don't know whether it's double or something, but yeah, I need to check with the backend team. But yeah. Yeah.
No, that looks really good. And I thought it was really smooth. Like the whole operation was very nice to watch. So that's really great. So Now, I would like you to speak a bit about the roadmap for the project. Like, do you have plans and where is the project going? What do you plan on doing next? What's missing? And can you describe a bit about what's happening there?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also like where people can get involved. If somebody wants to start, getting involved in your community and contributing, like where's a good spot for them?
Yeah, so we do have a regular roadmap meeting. We also have a Discord channel, which the whole community can talk to us. So if they have any ideas, they could actually, talk to us there. I would just post the link of the link to join the Discord channel in the chat. So yeah, like our roadmap, our current roadmap will be, we want to make it more user friendly to maybe corporate clients. We do have a corporate clients at the moment, and that's why we see that, that actually we can make it more user friendly for them. So what we're doing now is that we wish there is like it's actually partly done. Like we now can load in a CSV into a schema list graph, which like you can load in the table first, and then you can build the schema afterwards. So which is very handy. And when of course now we can do it with CSV, and then the next step will be do it with Excel. So because I know people love Excel, but it's not the best tool in the world, right? You could lose all the track and trace, record in it with the UK government. I don't know how they managed to do that, but it's not the best tool for a large number of data. So that's why we need a database that you could handle that, right? So so hopefully we can have our users can load in Excel files and have a graph data from there. And of course, we're building a tool I mentioned a little bit before that is a GUI interface that people can make query without knowing how to code. They don't need to type anything. They can just drag and drop what they want to make a query. So it's kind of like the IBM Watson, if you've used that before. So so I think for IBM Watson, I've tried a little bit. It's actually quite easy to build a chatbot. So I hope that it's quite easy to build a graph database as well. So yeah.
Yeah, all that sounds great. And I think what you're giving me is like, I have an idea of the project as going really where the users are, like meeting the users where they are instead of bringing the other way around. And I don't know if that's right, if that's what's happening there, but that's the impression I get.
Yeah, we do love our users, and we do have people chatting a lot in the community, and we always love them. So yeah.
Is there a particular initiative that you're the most excited about, and why is that?
About the new development, or
or wherever, like where the project is going. Is there something that like you personally are super excited about?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about. So the most recent thing that I'm most excited about is that we have a graph. Oh, actually, I should have shown you in the in the Jupyter Notebook. Like now we have a graph visualization that is interactive in the Jupyter Notebook. That's something that I dreamed for a long time. When I was a data scientist, I do some like graph analyzation and things like that, and I use NetworkX, right? So NetworkX provide lots of good algorithm. I love it, but the visualization with NetworkX is rubbish. Sorry, like if you love the visualization of NetworkX, I'm sorry, but it's really rubbish. It's not good looking, and sometimes if you have a lot of information, it's just clustered together. It's not the best. So I always dream of a network graph visualization that is interactive, that you could customize it, change the color and all these things, and you can drag around all these different points, nook and edges, so you can see better. Now we can have it, and I'm very happy. So yeah.
Well, we would love to see it. I mean, if you I don't know if we have time, but if you want to, you could show it to us. It would be really cool.
Actually, it's in a blog. If you go to our website, terminusdb.com, and then go to our blog, there's a blog post with the hackathon that we have done with DBpedia. In that blog, actually, there's a showcase of an interactive graph, so you can see how it looks like.
Oh, awesome. Okay, extremely cool. Yeah.
It's good that you can play around with it as well, so I recommend you to check it out.
Yeah, I love all
Really
these
cool.
interactive features you're talking about, like not only with the graph, but that if somebody's building a query with this like new interface that you're creating, it sounds like it's going to interact a little bit with them to like build a good query, which is extremely cool. Like I really, really like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so thanks for all that. And I guess now is the time to get to some viewers' questions. We have a few, but if anyone else would like to ask something, now is your last chance. So please ask your question in the chat or in the questions tab on Livestorm. So I'll go to the first question, which is, if I know Python, what language will I have to know to write queries in TerminusDB?
If you know Python, so to make the query of, in TerminusDB, actually you just need to learn. So you just need to install the Python client, and then we have a documentation about how to make query. It's just like what I've shown earlier, that you have to call triple, you have to call. So it depends. So you use the queries to build the schema, to load in the data. So all this is like adding triple, but we also create something like you can add the documents, if you check out documentation, you'll see all of them. We have some example there as well. And also, like, if you make query, you just, like what I did, you call the triple, you just make the relations using the variables. So like I said, it's like logical thinking. So you have to make logics that, okay, or this variable that I set up is the answer that I want. So it need to fulfill this triple, like the previous example. So this variable, that one is the value, and this value need to be fulfilling that it's the balance of Jim. Okay, so it will only give me Jim's balance. It's not the balance of Mark, or it's not the balance of Cheuk, it's the balance of Jim. So it need to fulfill that triple, that requirement. You can have multiple of them. You can link it up. You can have, like, maybe, for example, you don't know Jim's, let's say you, well, it's not the same as the example, but let's say you have stored Jim's credit card number. So you'll be like, oh, how much money you have in this credit card account, right? So you don't know the name of the credit card holder, you don't know Jim, but you can match, like, okay, this account holder who has this credit card number, also this account holder, so it's another variable, and then we have the balance of what value. So you link them by variable. So it's just logical reasoning. You don't have to learn something new. You don't have to, like, for example, Neo4j, you have to learn Cypher. But in TerminusDB is, well, we have Waco, but you're still using Python. You're just using some methods to make logics. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That was a really useful and helpful answer. So thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about some interesting use cases you've seen in the wild with TerminusDB?
Yeah, so what I would say the most interesting use case is what we have done with DBpedia. We have loaded in the whole DBpedia in TerminusDB, and then we are moving. So that's what we did in the hackathon. We are moving some of these DBpedia data into the Shasha history data bank. So we are kind of cross-tracking the data as well. We have just do a part of it, just as an example, but everybody's welcome to do it. It's an open source project, so the data are open source, the tool is open source. So yeah, we are cross-checking some of the wars that happen in certain period of time, and then checking, like, what's the result of the war, who are the the general of the war, and then we just bring across the data, which is quite cool. And we found some data, some data quality issues as well. For example, some of the year they're like, they're BC and they're missing a minus there, so it's confusing whether it's AD or BC. You have to cross-check them. So yeah, this is quite interesting. But of course, we also have another commercial side of use as well. It's not just for the researchers. We also have clients. Actually, my colleague is working very hard for them right now. That they are retailers in Dublin, not Dublin, Ireland. So they actually have a storage problem with their the stock and all this. They want a management system. So so we provide some kind of not just storing the data of the stock, but also doing some prediction, because we can get the data quite easily, and then we can put it in some data science tool and give them predictions and all this. So yeah, so it works with data science project. Yeah.
That's really nice. So I would just like to mention that Travis, thank you, Travis, shared the link about the hackathon that you mentioned before in the questions or in the chat for Livestorm. So there's a link, and you can check it out and see the hackathon, what that's all about. So thank you. That's really interesting. Okay, so now it's time for our world famous rant and rave section, where we each get 15 seconds to rant or rave about whatever topic we want. So, Cheuk, this is your soapbox. You can start.
Right. I've not stopped ranting about the COVID situation. I keep saying, because the thing is, like, things were getting better. Now it's getting worse again. We just have a short kind of relaxed period, and I just hope people make smarter decisions regarding their own health and also the people around them, the safety of people around them. Because we all have been affected. In my job, I used to travel a lot, but now, of course, I stay at home. We have to do things online, but I think if we do it together, we would change the situation, and we would be back on track.
Yeah, I think that sounds fair. Like, I know we're ranting about this a lot, but everybody's affected, like you said. So there's really no escape from that, right, Madikin?
Yeah, also it's been going on for months. So, I mean,
Yeah.
It would be nice if we worked together so it wasn't still a huge problem. And I didn't have like the next 6 months to look forward to being in this really wonderful room of mine. So I agree with you, Cheuk. Yeah. Okay, well, I am going to rave about LaTeX or LaTeX package that I saw on Twitter today. So I'll link it, and it's a Halloween math package that you can use as an extension for LaTeX or LaTeX. People get really angry about if I mispronounce that. Anyway, it has like witches and pumpkins and skulls. And I just feel like I want to see some equations with some of these in here. And what would make math like even cooler than adding cool Halloween things? So I'm raving about it. I love it.
Oh my God, I love that. I'll definitely check that out. As a LaTeX person,
Yes.
I'll definitely check that out.
Yes. Okay. If you do some equations, put them on Twitter, and I'll love them. It'll be so good. It'll be awesome.
I'll share for sure. So for my turn, I would like to rave about Brazilian Children's Day, which is next Monday, and I have a 6-year-old, so we're gonna be having fun. Try some fun stuff. And I was talking to you before. We have like a role-playing game lined up to play on Monday, and so we'll celebrate. And that's the little celebrations we can get right now, but those are great for getting us going. A few more months, I guess.
Yeah, and also a nice escape, right? Like if you're in like a magical world where things are good, it makes it like, the outside world also fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Well, I guess that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank Cheuk for participating. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up, but thanks for watching, and thank you so much for all the explanations and answers. It was awesome. I learned a lot, and I thought it was extremely interesting to know more about TerminusDB.
And graph databases. I learned so much. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us on Twitter at OpenTeams Inc. and at Quantside AI. Cheuk, where can people find you and TerminusDB?
Right. So if you want to find me, I think the best thing is Twitter. I will give you my Twitter handle. Yeah, and TerminusDB as well. You can find us on Twitter, and also the link above that I share, which is the community. You can join and chat with us.
That's great. Thank you. If you liked what you saw today, please go to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe to see more of this content. And we look forward to you joining us next episode, where we'll have a discussion on pandas, the cutest Python package ever. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.